and gentlemen, welcome back to the Rufus Rundown. It's been a little bit of a hiatus again throughout all the craziness and online classes and stuff like that. Been pretty busy. Got up with online class and stuff. I'm still home, but it was kind of tough to get some content out. And I figured, make the push, make the focus in the schoolwork, and the content could come after. So we're back again. I'm gonna be very consistent. It's gonna be 5 to 6 uploads a week. YouTube, podcast, FIFA career modes, and other little videos that I'm planning on doing. A lot of content's going to be coming out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all over the place. I'm going to be creating as much content as I possibly can. So stay tuned for that. So the @Rufus Rundown on Instagram and Twitter, the Rufus Rundown Facebook page, and then Apple Music, Spotify, anywhere you can get your podcast, the Rufus Rundown, and then the Rufus Rundown YouTube as well. Be sure to tune into all of those sources. Plenty of content to be coming your way. And today the content's been coming to you. The first content is going to be an interview with one of my former assistant football coaches for my senior year, Zack Botelho. He's a football coach over at Old Colony. I love the entire Old Colony staff. Zack was, he's great to me. Did a lot of stuff with a lot of reviewing a lot of the films and being able to take from the films what kind of plays we run and understanding how much a certain team runs of a certain play. He does a lot of stuff behind the scenes and, on the scenes in terms of, JV coaching, and just he's a great all-around football coach and has really bought into the Old Colony community. So I have an interview coming up with him on Zoom. I hope you guys really do enjoy it. I enjoyed the interview a ton, so I really do hope you enjoy the content and a lot of the content that's going to be coming towards you guys in the very near future. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the interview I have with Coach Zack Botelho. Welcome to the Rufus Rundown, Coach Botelho. Rufus Rundown, a little introduction to Coach Botelho. He was my football coach for my senior season of football at Old Colony, and that's mainly the topic we're going to be touching on today. So how you doing, Coach?
I'm great. Happy to be on. How are you doing during this crazy time?
I'm doing all right. I just finished up with school. Pass-fail was pretty clutch, so I took the 1A that I had. I knew there's one class that I could just easily kind of go by with and take the grade. Took that grade, just boosted my GPA because I didn't have an A average in. The rest of them I just took the pass in, and still waiting on just to pick my next class next semester because I'm not really sure what's going to go on with next semester. Living so close to UMass, I'm kind of just, if it's going to be online again for half of next semester, I'd rather just take the semester off than actually commit to classes or anything like that. So I'm trying to kind of wait that out.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's cool that you finished strong. That's awesome.
So, what about you? How's everything been going through you? I know you teach as well as, with the coaching and everything. How has it been for you, transitioning from being able to, see people in person and teach through in-person coaching and everything else wise to now having to go through Zoom meetings and Google Classrooms and stuff and share information that way?
It's been a transition, definitely. I do a lot of stuff online as is, just that's kind of how I work and how the kids I work with do best. So we've been utilizing those resources more and more. The teaching part, it's been a learning curve, but the kids have been doing really well with it. I think the kids are doing better with it than some of the teachers are actually. The coaching piece has been real tricky, just because you don't get the in-person weight room interactions. You're not getting the spring season this year. We have so many kids on the OC football team that are baseball players, lacrosse players. So you're missing that competitiveness and teamwork and getting in shape and all the weight room stuff. So we've been doing our best to transition, doing some online Zoom meetings, sharing electronic playbooks, things of that nature. Just figuring out the best we can.
It's definitely a crazy time. It's something that I'm going to be able to sit down with my grandkids one day and then, hopefully sit down with my grandkids one day and be able to have them ask me questions about it and stuff. It's definitely been crazy. I think the 18th is genuinely looking to be that day where they're going to lessen the restrictions. It'll be a long, long time, I think, before we get back to normal. It might even be a full 2, maybe full calendar years from the date where normal, I guess you can say, becomes an actual thing again. But obviously there's going to be positives to pull out of it too. And there's a lot of, as much as the bad news that you can pull from it, I know there's a lot of positives and a lot of this different stuff. And maybe even there's even new, strategies and techniques that people may come up with or have that. I know some of the NFL guys, the NFL draft guys had said that they liked how they were able to send everybody home and almost might use the same kind of outlook with it next year in terms of how they approach scouting and before the draft and everything and allowing people to do it from home and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of challenges in front of people, obviously, but I mean, it's shown a lot of like how this human resilience and the strength that people have to kind of overcome it too, which is kind of impressive.
Yeah, I think it'll be. I mean, there's so much terrible news and so much bad, obviously coming out of it with all the health issues and economic issues many people are having. But in terms of being able to truly utilize the technology at our fingertips every day and really value the human connections that you do have with people. So kind of understanding the importance of that, but also being able to maximize your time at home with your family or your time at home relaxing. So, there's no need to have coaches meetings for 2 hours after practice anymore because you can go home and hop on a Google Doc or hop on a Zoom meeting and get the same stuff done while you still get to, have dinner at home at a reasonable hour. So I think a lot of people will benefit because you'll be able to see like, hey, we didn't really need to do all that stuff in person that we did because we survived without it and everything turned out okay work wise.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of like positive approaches that come out of this that people are still going to be able to use, after it's all said and done. So I know I'll kind of get right into the main stuff of kind of what I wanted to talk to you about as an OC football coach, which you've been coaching since like, my senior year was what your first year on the staff, right, as the freshman coach, and then
That's
obviously
correct. Yeah.
to to say that you were just the freshman coach is just he's putting it way too lightly because you did so much for us from there and even just building on into the role that you took on in the years after. I mean, because like when Coach Franklin had it like the outside issues go on, obviously you like when we were pulled aside, you stepped right into that role and we really saw how much you really did. Not that I underestimated like what you had done before, but like obviously your title didn't really amount or like kind of like take effect for like what you actually really did for like the entire program as a whole, which I was incredibly grateful for.
I appreciate that. I think one of the best parts of coaching at Old Colony, a very, very, very small school, is that we all on staff take on 6, 7, 8 different roles depending on the day. I mean, we look at the freshman coaches we have now, Coach Sylvia and my brother, Coach Sam Botelho. They both do tons of stuff, prepping the varsity, up in the booth on game days, wearing headsets, getting guys ready on special teams. We got coaches that play scout team quarterback, scout team defensive ends to give specific looks depending on where we're at. Guys coaching 3 different positions and a special team. And we all just really work so well together to help each other out, pick each other up, pick up the slack where you need it, add something where you have an expertise, and that balance of no one being so set in their ways, no one saying, "Oh, I'm in charge of this and you do it my way." The collaboration is so helpful when you only get to have a few handful of coaches to work with grades 9 through 12.
Yeah, and it works kind of like the same way for you guys as it did for us. Obviously, there's a lot of schools where you play one way and that's it. You worry about playing linebacker, you worry about playing you worry about playing a fullback, you worry about playing, straight up slot receiver. For us, there's a lot of roles we have to take on where you're rotating throughout the entire secondary, or one set I'm a down tackle, the next set I'm the defensive end, the next set I'm the Mike linebacker, and then on offense I'm going from running back to fullback to tight end. You need to, and not only did I have to know, one position, I had to know multiple positions for my own benefit. And then on top of that, for a lot of me, at least I know it made me better in it. I enjoyed it more. The more that I knew the entire offense, knew everybody's job, it made it a lot easier for me to adjust on the fly if anything went wrong or if a different front came that way. It was easier for me to be able to adjust on the fly to, maybe I should seal this guy instead of kicking him out and stuff like that. And it adds a lot more to the kids you have to rely on too, but also you guys have more accountability in your end because you have to be able to not only take on more of those roles because you have less coaches, but you still have to have that same responsibility and have to be able to relay that responsibility to the players. So as tough as it is players to take that information in and contribute on the field, it's tough for you guys to be able to have to teach, 3 different position groups and, still be able to analyze film from both sides of the ball, as opposed to where other bigger schools are going to have guys playing one set position and guys and coaches that are coaching. You have a D-line coach, you have an O-line coach. All those roles get blended between you guys, and it's a really good that you guys are able to collaborate and kind of just delegate it evenly throughout and like just take adjustments and everything. And Coach Mendes doesn't have a lot of yes men around him either because I know you guys are going to throw different stuff at him, and the players are going to be able to are in really good hands when it comes to you guys as a coaching staff.
I think, I mean, one thing that really stood out to me being at Old Colony football, to kind of jump on what you're saying there, is a lot of coaches love to say that we play the best 11 guys. The best 11 are going to be on the field. At Old Colony, that's not a saying. That's the reality. If our quarterback gets hurt, we don't have a sophomore backup quarterback who's ready to jump in because that's all he has to worry about all the time. It's we got to find the next best guy to hop into that role. Our backup quarterback might be our starting X receiver because he's that good of an athlete, and we can't
Yes.
take him off the field. And then we got the backup X receiver could be a kid who's playing running back for us, every other down. And you got to totally change the way you're doing substitutions or whatever because the best 11 guys are always, always, always on the field. We had a kid this year, Ben Kingsbury, league all-star, standard times all-star, and he was an outside linebacker. He was a tight end, quarterback, wide receiver, wildcat running back, and he punted for us. So there's no way you
Isaiah
could
Simmons, like.
exactly. There's no way you could replace a kid like that with just one backup player. There's no one backup. It's everyone pick each other up. Everyone needs to know multiple roles, and we're really doing our best to make sure the best 11 football players are on the field at any given down. And we're lucky that we're able to do that because the kids there buy in so quickly to that kind of, there's only 30 of us. They call them the dirty 30. And we know we're going to hit and practice, and we're going to get ready, and we're going to listen, and we're going to learn. And come game day, we're ready. It doesn't matter who gets called on, We know what we have to do, and we're ready to play football.
And another thing to add on to with Little Colony as well is that you guys have less time to prepare. I mean, you guys play a game a day later or a day earlier in the week, whatever way you want to really look at it. Most schools are used to having like that Friday night schedule and then having like the more days like off on the weekend to prepare for. Then you guys have a Saturday afternoon game. So it's just a totally different schedule to prepare, like totally different schedule to prepare for. I mean, it's hard, and it's even harder to really get kids to really buy into a program that you're not playing. I mean, obviously the lights will be there now, but to have like those Friday lights that play under as like other bigger schools might have, it's a totally just different culture there. Obviously, you said like one of your bigger culture shocks. Like, what would you say like the biggest culture shock was coming into like Coach OC?
I can kind of to share like an anecdote to kind of illustrate it. This is not a joke. This is a real thing that happened. It was your senior year. I can't remember the kid, but it was during 2 days or in the first month or so of practice. And I'd come from a suburban town, much bigger school, like 900 kids, very deep football program, 80 plus kids in the program. And they did a great job there. I really enjoyed being there. So I show up at OC, the numbers are down, it's grass field, the old field house that's got, nails sticking out and exposed studs, all that. And we had to go inside for some reason. There was thunderstorms or lightning storms or it was too hot or something. And Coach Mendes yells to the locker room, "Hey, you guys, grab your sneakers. We got to head down to the gym." And this kid comes up to Coach Mendes and he says, "Coach, I don't have sneakers." He goes, "What do you mean you don't sneakers? I tell you to always bring sneakers to practice." He goes, "No, I don't own sneakers. I have work boots and cleats." And I was like, wait a second. This kid's an athlete. He doesn't own sneakers? No. And Coach Mendy's like, no, plenty of kids here. It's work boots and cleats because these kids, they're either working because they're hardworking, blue-collar kids who are inside playing Fortnite all day. They're outside. They're making money. They're learning trades. They're doing all this stuff with their hands, or they're on the football field. And there's no time to just lounge around in their Air Jordans. These kids are hardworking kids who truly love football. Jumping on that point about the Friday night lights and how in the Mayflower Athletic Conference where we play, things are so different. We play games on Thursday sometimes. We play games on Saturday morning sometimes, Friday afternoon sometimes. So the kids that are playing, it's not because they like to see wear their jersey on Fridays and walk out with the cheerleaders on Friday nights. It's because they truly love the game of football. And they will literally play it anytime, anywhere because they've shown that they'll play it in Framingham at 3 o'clock on a Thursday and they'll play it down in Harwich at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. It doesn't matter. They're ready to play.
And that's what I like to tell people. Like, there's no really easy way to explain what Old Colony is as a whole. Like I tell people, I'm like, dude, it's just not like it's not like a regular. It's definitely not a regular high school. I'm like, oh yeah, it's a vocational school. I go, vocational school doesn't do it justice. There's not really a term that does everything like in terms of the full high school experience that you'd have compared to everything else. It doesn't do it any justice. A lot of people get the stick of, you guys only have to do half the academic work that we do in like regular schools. And I go, no, we have to do the same amount in half the time that you do. On top of that, we have to understand how to do a trade in that time. And if you want to play sports and be good at it, which those coaches do give you the ability to not only be good at the sport, but grow you as a individual, as a male, as a man, or even as a female for guys that coach like the women's sports. They're going to grow you as a person, you're going to grow as a student, and you're going to grow in your trade, and you're going to grow as an athlete, and you're going to have a lot less time to do it and a lot less, time to commit to certain areas. It's a school that really takes a lot of your time, but it's worth every second of that time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't work in the building. I work at a comprehensive high school, so a very traditional academic setting. But just coaching there and being a part of it for the last 3+ years, it's not that the kids are doing less of other things. They're doing everything that kids do at high school, plus learning and trade and going to a co-op job. There's no scaled back anything else. We have kids taking AP classes, kids in all honors classes that are managing that course load, plus they work an after school job, plus they're playing 3 sports, and on top of it, they're coming out as a certified electrician on the other end. I mean, what our kids do on a day-to-day basis always is amazing to me, because I don't think 17-year-old me could have been able to handle what these guys do. We had kids this past season driving back from Canton in their work clothes, because they were just underneath a bunch of cars all day, learning how to do oil changes and things with tires and stuff I don't even understand, because they make fun of me when my car doesn't start sometimes. And they're changing out of their work clothes, running up the path to get ready, and then they go out and practice for 3 hours. I mean, on top of going home to do their homework from academics and working on the weekend. It's amazing what, the student athletes at vocational schools balance and do successfully. There's so many great vocational programs at Old Colony and in other schools in our league that are successful, not just amongst other vocational schools, but statewide.
I mean, I remember when I would work co-op my junior and senior year. I'd drive straight from Toyota of Dartmouth. There'd be days where I'd get out like later than I wanted to, and I'd be like obviously in Dartmouth like 20, 25 away, and practice would be like in 15 minutes, or I'd supposed to be out there in 15 minutes, and I'd be boogieing down 140 from like 195 like straight to Old Colony, and I'd have to like just get dressed like wicked quick, get out there like halfway through like skipping rope, and hope that like no coach would like especially menus that they catch me like, what are you doing? But like he knows in a sense, but like still like in the back of my mind, like being the leader, like having to be a leader from junior and senior year, because I was playing both sides of the ball as it was then. I was just like trying to not set the example of like being late and stuff like that, but like it was like a genuine thing. Like I had a job, and then I had to go play like high school football, and both I was very committed to at that time, because I mean when you're on co-op it's very great, and B, I'm getting like paid. I'm just trying to maintain that job, and then I had to go play football, something that I loved and something that I was good at, and something that not only the coaches but players and my friends around me were relying on me to do at a high level. So it definitely teaches you how to accept responsibility, and a lot of time management skills go into it too, and just how to grow yourself as a person more than just like specifically like an athlete. And it's why I tell people all the time, like, if it depends, like people say, should I go to a colony? Like, it depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I'm not going to tell someone who wants no part of that kind of lifestyle to go there. You have to want to go to a colony. You have to want to be there. It's not something you can go into half-heartedly and be like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it or not. Like, if you're not totally set on what that lifestyle is going to be, it's not for you. But once you're into it and once you're invested in that lifestyle, you will never want to leave it, and you're going to remember it for a very long time.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. It's definitely not the exact academic, uh, institution that every student needs, but I think there's so much there that all kids can benefit from, whether it be in the classroom, in their shops, on the athletic fields, on the court, even the after school activities. They have so much stuff that they offer. The student body there is very lucky to have such a dedicated group of educators and administrators and coaches that really work hard to make it kind of like a hidden gem of the South Coast community.
It's a family environment like all the way through, and I've credited Trahan with it for as long as I've been there, and what I've seen since I've left is that just how much of like a committed and like family environment is, how much they genuinely care for you as a person on top of being an athlete, as a student. All around, people legitimately do care for you just as much as like they would for their own kids or their own or people that they're related to. They're just as much willing to go to war with you on Saturday morning or Friday afternoon or Thursday afternoon as you are, and for whatever reason that it may be. So I mean, the effort that the coaches put into us or the players is always like reciprocated back, and vice versa. Either way, I think it's just there's so much passion that goes both ways that and it shows in the results too. I think the results speak for themselves in terms of how we do athletically, and in terms of the numbers and people that graduate and go on to jobs and stuff like that, and how many people that can reflect like fondly on their times there.
Yeah, I think there really is a true sense of pride amongst all those that are a part of the Old Colony community. I know um, we get as excited for a kid like Noah Perdigo, who played offensive and defensive line for us this year, super team for the Standard Times, all league, everything. He was a monster. Going to play football at UMass Dartmouth, which is a huge, exciting thing, especially as a football coach. You love when your guys go to the next level. But we get just as excited for the kids that we have that are going out into the workforce, going out into the military, doing whatever it is that they were meant to do once they graduate, because they're finding the success that they worked so hard to achieve. And it looks different for every kid, and Old Colony really supports that. Whether you're a league MVP or a backup as a senior, if you're working hard and you're putting in the time, you're going to get that from your coaches and your teachers there, and they're going to celebrate whatever it is that you get to achieve once you get out of it.
Yeah, that's one of the things that like grew on me is like along the ways too, is that like when I was like a sophomore or junior, like I was playing a lot more than a lot of the kids that came up with in my freshman class. And like the scout team to me, I was like kids that were playing scout team that were my age, like I had like this swagger to me, and like looking back on it, I hate every second of like what I did and how I did it. Like I would look at other kids that played scout team, and I'd just like be like, ugh, like this scowl, just and like would just rub their face in the dirt after making, like, not like specifically stuff like that, but like like it would just like I had like no respect for like what the scout people were doing. Like I would just like, and of course, like I was when I was a sophomore, like whatever edge I could use to get more time and really push myself was I had the stress fracture in my foot too, so I wasn't moving too well at that point. Like whatever I guess edge I could give myself to like play harder in practice, because for whatever reason I just had like zero respect going that way. And then like as I grew and really realized like these are guys making you better. You're not going against your ones. You're not ever going against your ones. Like other schools get to go against the number one corner, the number one wide receiver, face off each week. You're not doing that. You're going against kids that know that they're not good enough to be at that level, or just too young, or just physically aren't there, and have to show up with the courage each day to know that they're not going to show up in the paper. They're not going to show up on the field in those days, but their impact's just as big as anybody else making those plays on the field. That's one of my favorite things now, is realizing just how much like the scout team means and how impressive it was. I mean, the only people that still kind of get on my nerves and did get on my nerves like after the fact was like people that thought they were going hard but really weren't. Like it'd be like a Friday review day, and like they'd be hit like with the first pop of contact, and they'd keep running through like they were like Barry Sanders or like Herschel Walker or something like that. Like
Yeah.
when we're just on a Friday trying to like do a rap practice, and like it just doesn't help anybody out that way. But for the people that know they aren't good enough but still show up with 110% trying to better themselves no matter what year they are, as a sophomore, junior, or senior, it really is impressive, and I don't think you'll get that out of the schools.
No, we have such a great group of kids, and they all individually will buy into the role, whatever that might be. And for the most part, they'll garner respect from the kids that are the two-way starters or the senior captains for what it is that they do. We had a lot of freshmen this year who were physically quite talented, and were had a really good compete level. And they would come up and practice with us for half an hour here, half an hour there. They'd come on Fridays and help out, and they'd get their butts kicked a little bit, but the seniors would pull them up, and they'd be appreciative for the look they were getting. Some of the freshmen would make some plays, get on kids' nerves, but the kids, they appreciate the competitive nature of our practices, and they do appreciate kids who play their role and they go as hard as they can. We had a kid last year as a junior, Austin Mendes, who very talented player, but just it wasn't a spot on the field for him on offense or defense. And he played every single special team for us, and he went incredibly hard, and he made a bunch of tackles, and made a bunch of plays, and he gave his all to that role. And he was ready to go if we needed him on either side of the ball, but he knew his role was special teams, and he busted his tail to be as good as he could at it. And it's going to turn into a really big senior year for him this year, because he has that work ethic and that mentality. He's going to be the best at whatever it is that he does.
Yeah, that was one thing that I know I bought into, was like the weight room. I remember when I was sitting there as a freshman, I'd played football for 1 year before, but it really wasn't like a worthwhile experience to me. I went back to playing soccer right after it. Like, I just didn't enjoy it. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
teach anything. I was oversized. I didn't know how to like block or anything like that. Like, I understood it more as I lost a lot of weight coming out of middle school. As I went into high school, I said, I want to get hit somebody. I want to play football. And I remember, as a freshman, I just physically like more dominant than like most people. So it was just fun for me. I enjoyed it, and I remember like saying like I want to play varsity as a sophomore. And I remember every single person that got up there they were successful too under Coach Gilbo in that first year that I was there. Weight room, weight room, weight room, and more weight room, and it was a bunch of kids that really weren't, looking back on it, incredibly talented. Cole Bernier was an incredibly talented kid. A lot of the other kids really weren't that talented, but they worked their ass off like day in, day out. And that's what I wanted to be. I knew that I would have to put that work in. And I think that I bought into that. A lot of people around me in my class started to buy into that. And I think since there's been so much success there, I think the whole program's really bought into, just no matter what time of the year it is, they're working towards a greater goal in that sport, no matter what role they're in, whether it's getting physically stronger, mentally stronger about the game or anything. They're always grinding to to get to that next level.
Yeah, the kids we work with there do an excellent job of really pushing themselves to become better every day. I know the weight room was going pretty well with the younger guys that we have coming back up until the school closure, and not being able to do that's definitely going to be a big hindrance. But I know, uh, the kids are working hard the best they can where they are, because they want to be they want to be good. And you can't be in the weight room with your team, but you got to find a way. And we have a lot of kids who are lifting, or they're working a ton, or they're getting in shape running. Tons of kids who are playing catch with their younger siblings, just to get that ready, get moving around, which is great. How everyone's navigating this whole thing in terms of getting better is definitely gonna show up in the fall. And the guys who wanted it and made it happen are going to be successful when they get to camp. And those that didn't put in that effort when they had the time, it's it's going to be a tougher go when we show up. But I think the whole state of Mass is going to be in that boat, and it's going to be an interesting season because of it.
Now, Coach, we talked about the growth of a lot of like the players and everything like that throughout. What would you say like the biggest growth for you as a coach, and I guess as a person too, as like you've like gone through like since you like become a coach at Old Colony? What do you say like the biggest growth like, in terms of like aspects of coaching you've like seen throughout yourself, like in terms of being able to see?
I've definitely tried to become a little bit more of a listener since I've become working at Old Colony. There's so many guys that I work with on staff that have been coaching for a lot longer than me, and they've coached a lot of different styles, a lot of different schools, a lot of different kids, and they have such a wealth of knowledge on how to best access those things and teach those things, and work through different scenarios. Even just listening to the stories of some of those guys, you get a lot from that. But you grow up playing football, and you play Madden, and you play all those games, and you think you know what cover three is, you think you know what the wing T offense is, but getting to talk to guys who actually coached in a certain system or played against this team for 20 years that ran this certain system, and seeing all these little fixes and checks and skills that they can give to players, has been hugely helpful for me as a coach. I've learned so much, learning from Coach Franklin on the defensive side of the ball, what he's able to implement and get kids to do, how he teaches certain schemes so they're easy to understand for kids, even though they might be incredibly complex overall. And even taking what he showed and using it on the offensive side, like, oh wow, this is what people are doing to X, Y, and Z. We got to sharpen up and make sure we have tendency breakers, or different kind of reads that we can work through on this so kids can be successful. Listening to the other guys on staff who have coached different places and coached for a longer time and have different perspectives has helped me so much, just in terms of understanding how to work with kids and the game of football.
Yeah, I know when I played, I mean, not that I ever like for any coaches that I would never listen to like throughout my life. Like I always was a respectful like learner of like what the coaches were trying to give. But like when Coach for like Frank, like I just absorbed everything that Coach Franklin would say, whether it be like his awesome phrases or just anything I could learn to be a better football player. And I know that I wasn't at the time the most. I was a strong kid. I wasn't the quickest kid, but I knew that if I understood the rules, everybody around me understood, how to read a guard or anything like that, and just like simplified everything, I would be able to make myself what I lacked in speed at that point. I'd make up for it and being able to get there sooner. I know that's like Coach Franklin is easily, in terms of like what I can pull from them, like learning knowledge in terms of becoming a better player, like just strictly like information that I've been able to take for them, is easily the best coach I've ever had in my whole life in terms of being able this raw knowledge being able to absorb from someone. I don't think there's a better coaching staff like in the business as a whole. And I think Coach Franklin, in terms of like just being able to give raw knowledge to like football knowledge, I don't think there's anybody better in the business than him.
Well, and the thing that's so amazing about working at Old Colony, working with the coaching staff that we have there, is there's obviously a wealth of knowledge and experience, and everyone kind of knows, what needs to be done in a given week and how to make things happen. But the lack of egos has been so amazingly beneficial for our team as well. Two guys might disagree on something, or one might think he has the better way than the other, but no one's barking down each other's throats or screaming this my way or the highway. Coach Mendy's the head coach. I came in as a freshman coach, and he would stay after practice with me and drop plays on the board with me, and we'd work through offensive stuff for the varsity team together because he was always looking to get better and always looking to learn. And the ability to listen to each other and come up with the best plan, regardless of whose idea it is, to make sure that the student athletes can be successful, has definitely been a key to the amount of success that we've had thus far. Coach Mendes is incredibly adaptable with what he does. He's willing to change practice schedules, drills, special teams, offense. We redo everything we do each year because you have a different group of kids and different strengths, and he's not stuck in his ways or tied to this magical system that he thinks will create wins every year, regardless of who's running it. And that adaptability and looking to get better, I think, is a great quality for a coaching staff, and it's a great thing to model for student athletes because we always tell our kids, you should be working to get better at what you do, get better at your craft, study, watch film. And we work really hard to model those things because we truly do want to get better as coaches and teachers.
That's one of the most impressive things that I've seen since I've been there. I mean, I remember when I was, a sophomore, and we kind of, kind of struggled, I guess you could say, off the bat. We still finished up with a very positive record and on a good run. We didn't make the playoffs that year. And I knew as a junior I was going to have like a bigger role. And I really enjoyed playing under Coach Mendes and just like in general. And I was really committed to playing for him that next year. I mean, I really enjoyed everything he did. He gave me and Jared Gagne a shot. Me and Jared Gagne worked incredibly hard in the offseason, and we thought we deserved the chance. We both got a lot of minutes and a great chance. I remember in the Cougar Cup game, I'd never played fullback in Tiger in my life. I mean, like, I'd never even taken reps there in practice or anything. Like, it just wasn't the thought. And it was working. I know Cam Pierce went down with a knee injury, and then Coach Mendes comes out and he goes, Lucas. And I was like, all right, whatever. I mean, Coach calls my name. I came running. And he goes, on power, you hear power, you do this. On ISO, you do this. And on trap, you do this. Got that? Can you do that? Yes, coach. So I got in there. I didn't have a wristband on. I didn't really never work these plays in my life. I just go to the play call side if it was Tiger right, Tiger left. And I would just, if I heard that, I would just do that. It was just simplified. And I just stepped into the moment. And I played really well. We went hurry up at the end, too. I didn't even have a wristband. I would ask Luke Cavallaro, who was playing the Tiger quarterback at that point, hey, what play is this? And he would just say power, and just power right or power left, whatever it was. And I would just do what was asked of me then. And I think, like I said, the adaptability, like we did different things because Jack could throw more in my junior year. And then my senior year, obviously, we didn't do a lot of throwing. We had a lot of running. We used me and Ronnie as like our lead blockers. It's not like Mendes has a set system to stay in. No matter what group of players, he's going to be a successful coach because guys are bought into the system, and he's able to you guys are able to look at the strengths of what you have and the weaknesses and amplify every single strength and minimize any weaknesses that you guys happen to have, and build the system just strictly for that season, or however to grow those guys as a player and make your just team all around a better team through whatever system it may be. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no, you're not going to be, maybe one year you'll have to be air raid, the next year it's going to be ground and pound again. I mean, whatever it is, whatever the strongest team is going to be, you guys are going to have a system in place for it. And I find that incredibly impressive.
Well, it comes from having a culture in place set by, student athletes like yourself who are willing to step up into a position like that is uncomfortable and potentially maybe even a little scary. Hey, you never practiced this, go block that linebacker who's blitzing, but kids are so willing to play hard and, give their best effort and hit someone that it's just, it works because of the student athletes we get to work with. We had a freshman this year, and it was a junior varsity game, and we were doing well, and kids were having fun, and we were making some plays. There's this one kid on defense who was giving us fits. He was huge. I think he was a senior playing JV. I don't know. He was a monster. He was making plays. And we said to this freshman who had never played with the JV offense before, barely knew the plays we were running, we said, hey, block that kid on every play. That's it. That's what you do. He just said, yes, coach, and went in the game. And he did it on every single play. And he didn't know if we were throwing it, if we were running it, if it was going to his side. He had no idea. But he wanted to get in the game. He wanted to play football. He wanted to hit someone, and he was so willing to be coachable and adaptable that we were able to have success. And we have so many kids like that in our program that we have the opportunity to be successful pretty much every year because of the student athletes we get to work with.
And like I said, it's a mutual like trust between everybody. I know for me and like all the groups after and that have come after me, you guys put the faith in us and we put the same amount of faith back into you guys. So if you guys tell us to do something, we know that you believe that we can do it. So those kids are going to do it with 110% effort, 110% confidence. Because if you guys believe that they can do it, they're going to do it at the confidence level that you have in them. So that's why I think like having such a good trust and such a good like that family relationship in between the confidence, the faith, and all of it coming together. It's going to be a successful program for the foreseeable future. For as long as you guys are there, it's going to be a successful school. It's going to be a successful program, and a lot of successful young men are going to come out of that program because of how impressive you guys are as a coaching staff and just how good of a system is in place now for the future.
Yeah, and I think one big thing that comes with that is that I think we measure success a little differently than maybe a lot of the fans or the other people in the coaching world might do. We hope to maximize the potential of every group that we get to work with, and that looks different for every team. For your guys in your senior class, you guys were able to become league champions, playoff contenders, Cougar Cup champs. Like there's lots of wins in the field. The next year, we only had 4 seniors, and a lot of them, a lot of the guys that were playing a bunch hadn't played a lot that year. That team still was immensely successful, for what they were able to accomplish. They made the playoffs. They were competitive in a ton of games. Defensively, they worked so hard and were so successful as the year went on. So success is so different for every group and for every kid, really. We love to have kids go on to college and play at the next level, and we love to have kids graduate and enter the workforce and be able to start off their careers so they can be successful, independent, and do whatever it is they might want to do. And the more examples we have that graduate from the Old Colony football program and can show what's possible is hugely helpful for us, because I know our guys look up to the alumni, the guys who come back and talk to them, the guys, whether it's from 20 years ago or from 2 years ago, seeing what Old Colony grads are able to accomplish kind of opens up some eyes and some doors for kids who are hoping to do things like that in the future.
I know for me personally, I remember my sophomore year, we went, I think it was like I said, 7-4, 7-5, whatever it was. We played well, really good down the stretch. I remember people talking to me when I was going to my junior year, like I was ready to play and everything, and I knew we were going to be good because I knew the guys that we had around us, the class we had around us, and I know I was able to contribute. I know a lot of kids in my class were going to be able to, which we did eventually have a good season. Ryan Baker, guys like that. But like everybody around you is like, oh, you guys aren't like, even within like sometimes the Old Colony community itself, like, oh, you guys are going to have a tough time next year because you had so much success the year before. They think automatically because it's such a small school, like, oh, they can't repeat that. And a lot of the local newspapers like South Coast stuff, a lot of the other schools think the same thing. I remember as a junior year, we rose above their expectations. Again, as a senior, we were projected to be the worst team in the area. And I was just like, it pissed me off a lot. And I knew that they were wrong. And we might have had a tough preseason and a tough first game, but we've talked about it, the system that's in place is never going to let guys fail. It's always going to be, guys are always going to be able to succeed because you guys, like you said, maximize the potential. And while people are always going to have their doubts, at the end of the day, as long as those players have the trust in you, you guys are going to, no matter what, have the trust in the players. Results are going to show up on the field.
And there's definitely a chip on the shoulder vibe around the Old Colony football team. I think, the kids that we work with and some of the coaches I work with, they love to get excited about being slighted in the newspaper or being forgotten about, or we miss out on all-star spots for the league meeting or whatever it might be. Anything that adds a little chip, a little slight, something. Our guys get real excited to prove people wrong, which is so awesome because a lot of them were maybe too small to play on Pop Warner teams, or were told they weren't going to be big parts of their local high schools, football programs, and they come to Old Colony and they see all kinds of success because of the work ethic and their ability to be tough, hard-nosed football players. But that chip on the shoulder thing is definitely a big part of Old Colony. They love proving people wrong, which is great.
I would always be looking in the newspapers to see what they said about us, and I never had any expectations of it being anything good. No matter how well we did, I was always expecting it to be the next week that we weren't going to be able to do so many things. Or I remember when I was a sophomore playing just like strictly special teams and like tight end, and we weren't even going to be doing a lot of tight end sets that week on offense. So like it was just going to be special teams for me against Diamond Voc in like our first non like playoff like whatever the you know like the MIA gave us like for that select game. They projected us to lose 20-0, and they in the quote. And I still remember this is for my sophomore year in a team that I didn't play that many minutes for, but I still had a decent amount, you know, for specifically for a sophomore for what I worked for. I remember Coach Pond had pulled it up, and I remember reading it. Diamond 20, Old Colony nothing. Both schools have fine culinary departments. That was all the paper had to say about that game and say about us.
Oh gosh.
And it became they want to take you to the SmackDown Hotel and WWE and wrestling stuff and NWO stuff. And said you want to take them to the SmackDown Hotel, and like Pond would get us all juiced up, and we ended up beating them on their field in Diamond for the first time. I think Old Colony had played Diamond or at least in a long time. And I remember making a couple tackles on special teams, and I remember one play Cam Pierce came out. I think someone stepped on him in the nether region, and I just had to step in for one play. Came in, made a stick, and got like right back out. But like it just, I wasn't even that big of playing that big of a role in that game, but I was still like committed like that much to the program. And I just remember like the 20-0 in the newspaper. Each year they're always like looking down on us. And I remember the year after I graduated, I remember saying like, oh, all you guys are gone. I remember people like talking to me like that were like the grade below, certain people that were like, oh, they're probably gonna struggle next year, right? And I go, nope, not a chance that they struggle. They'll probably be better than us, and I hope that I hope that they are. You know, I said I think they have a genuine chance to, you know, break someone like that group specifically with Bumpus and them. Like I had a chance to break. Like I mean, we tied the win record. I said I'm betting that they probably do break it. Like, oh, you're crazy, or whatever. I'm like, I'm not crazy. I go, they're just each team is going to be successful. There's no way around it. I don't think they the same way they looked at us saying like, oh, they're going to struggle after graduating this many people. They're going to struggle after graduating, whatever, 10 seniors it was or 12 seniors out of the junior year with us going into our senior year. No matter what it's been, no matter like what kind of like deficiencies I guess they can try and find in us, it just doesn't come to fruition ever.
And I think there's a stigma around vocational athletics, and a lot of people think that they're like a lower division, like a minor league of high school sports, and the success that not only Old Colony's had in athletics, but the entire Mayflower Athletic Conference is staggering. If you look at what those schools are up against in terms of, you know, developing athletic teams. I mean, in the playoffs last year, I want to say 75% of the teams in the Mayflower made the playoffs last year for football. I mean, the Final Four was for the South Sectional was 100% Mayflower teams, us, South Shore, West Bridgewater, and someone else I can't recall. I mean, the amount of success those teams have had. The Old Colony basketball program is one of the better ones in the area. Always a high seed in the tournament, always making it a deep tournament run. The baseball team, multiple vocational state champs, all kinds of success in the MIAA state tournament. But there's a very high level of compete in vocational athletics. And if you factor in that the majority of these kids, they don't play sports together until day one of their freshman year. There's no youth feeder system. There's no, you know, camaraderie between receiver and quarterback because one kid's from Carver and one kid's from Acushnet, and they met at freshman orientation 2 hours ago, and now they're going to go play football together. And the fact that, you know, there's a numbers issue and a school size issue that, you know, schools like Old Colony and Upper Cape and Blue Hills are up against every year. It's very impressive, the quality of football that vocational teams bring every single week.
That was one of the things that like it was mind-boggling for me, like especially when I was at Millicent. Hopedale was just absolutely dominant every single year. And I'm looking at like their roster's the same size as ours. They like what makes Millicent Hopedale so good? What makes these teams so much better than us are like able to repeat for titles? And I looked it up, and they've been playing football together since like the third grade. They've had elementary teams, they have middle school teams. They're learning the same plays, the same system from when they can play football all the way up until when they're playing it for when it matters. Old Colony doesn't have that benefit. A lot of vocational schools don't have that benefit. You're hopping in as a freshman, maybe not even having played football. Maybe you're just a bigger kid that wants to go out there and hit someone while you're at school. Or maybe you've played Pop Warner and you're just adjusting to a totally different system now. And that system's not even going to stay the same for 4 years, especially at Old Colony, because it's going to change on the fly and you have to be willing to adapt to it because your potential might not be maximized in the set that you're used to or that you had in that first year or your sophomore year. So most people would see it as a detriment, but since the kids are so bought in, it doesn't really affect us as most other people would look at it and say, oh, it's got to be so tough. It is tough, but kids are willing to buy into it, and you wouldn't be able to see a difference because the results stay the same.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at a vocational school, I mean, every kid that chooses to attend one is choosing so for a different reason. Some, want to get out of their hometown and try something new. Some really, really want to learn a specific trade because they've always been interested in a certain thing. There might be some kids that come because of a specific athletic program or after school club, or maybe just they felt a vibe or a better feeling within the school walls. But everyone's got their own reason for being there. And the fact that everyone's coming from different places for different reasons and can come together for a common goal and work for that for 4 years is so awesome to be a part of. It's much different than working in a district that has that feeder program that Pop Warner middle school football, all that stuff. It's much different in that regard, but it's also more special because the bonds that created are so natural and organic, and kids becoming friends because they all want the same thing, which is really cool.
All right, Coach. Just two more questions for you.
Yeah, of course.
What would you say like your favorite thing about coaching? What do you think that would be?
I would definitely say both coaching and teaching. I was very lucky growing up to have just committed teachers and committed coaches that really wanted to push me to be the best that I could be. And I like to think that I'm a better person today because of those. So I always go into each school year, each season, hoping I can be that adult for one kid, just one. Um, just pushing them, listening to them, caring for them, um, and just helping them become better because I was so lucky to be surrounded by that my whole life. I think that it's an incredibly important thing to do. And I really love just being around students and student athletes. I think that their energy is unmatched by anything in this world. And I get so much out of being around them. I learn so much every day. And I hope that they can get something out of it to help them be better people when they leave wherever we're at.
Just trying to be like an impactful role model on, which is awesome. And one more, if there was one like little piece of advice or just any piece of advice you were to give someone from making the jump from middle school to high school, I mean, they don't have to be a football player, just generally making that jump from middle school to high school, what do you think that would, like, I guess specifically to an athlete, what advice would you give them?
I think the biggest thing is definitely to get involved and do whatever it is that you want to do. You only get to do those 4 years once in your life. And you should explore anything and everything that interests you, whether that be new sports, new activities, new friends, new classes, whatever it might be. Try everything that you can. And don't be afraid to try something that might seem hard or difficult or new. There's plenty of adults out there that'll listen to you and help you work through stuff, but there's so many opportunities wherever you end up for high school that can really change the trajectory of your life. I highly recommend people take advantage of whatever they can. I took a little while to get involved in things when I was in high school, and I found a lot of passions of mine much later on. I didn't join the wrestling team until my senior year, and now I'm a wrestling coach, and it's one of my favorite things that I do in this world. And I'm very lucky that I had a teacher that pushed me to do that. So if you're interested in something, try it. If you hate it, oh well, now you know. And if you love it, then now your life has improved because of it. So get involved and try new things.
It's awesome advice, Coach. I appreciate you for coming on me. I think this should be all set. I'm gonna have it out for tomorrow, so I'll have it edited by tonight, and it'll be all set tomorrow. So I'll definitely be tagging you in all of it. And I just really appreciate your time and everything for coming on and everything you did for me as a coach too.
I appreciate that. This was a lot of fun, man. I'd love to do this another time. This is
Yeah, I'll definitely be able to
great
bring you on.
stuff.
I definitely chatted with like Trahan and Mendes too, so maybe we can bring you guys on together to share some different stories in terms of like coaching and stuff like that. But definitely gonna have you back on, even more of like the wrestling aspect of it too. I'd love to bring you on and kind of pick your mind on that because like I'm gonna be doing like the broadcasting for New Bedford Cable and I know they did one of the wrestling events, so I would love to have an idea of how to make myself a better broadcaster and understand wrestling more from like the the standpoint of like a coach and like being able to break it down as a color commentator or anything like that. Understand what really
That's
goes
awesome.
into it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'd love to. That's awesome for you too. Congratulations. That's good stuff.
Thanks, Coach. So I won't keep you. I know you got a meeting to head over to on another Zoom call. So,
Oh, I do.
but I do appreciate the time, and I wish you the best of luck and the best of health in this crazy time.
I appreciate it, man. Take care.
You too, Coach.
All right, I'll see you.
Bang. Night.